G'day groovers, rockers, and in between. This is Vinyl Vibes. I'm your host, Jack Hodgins. Today we are talking with Al Kooper, a songwriter, producer, performer, and session musician who has been a part of the music scene since the late 1950s. Al is regarded as the Forrest Gump of rock, as anything you've heard that is historical or iconic in music, most likely Al Kooper was there. He started his musical career in the Royal Teens, a rock and roll group known for their number one hit, Short Shorts, when he was 14 years of age. By age 21, he co-wrote his first number one hit, This Dimond Ring, and in 1965 he famously played the organ on Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone, which made Al a highly demanded session musician. He was a founding member of Blood, Sweat and Tears, as well as the Blues Project. If you have listened to albums such as Electric Ladyland by Hendrix, Let It Bleed by the Stones, Who's Next by The Who, then you have also heard Al Kooper as a session musician. In the early 1970s, he discovered a band called Lynyrd Skynyrd and produced their first 3 albums. These achievements in Al's life are only a few of the many he had in his time in music, as you will discover as we dive into this interview with the great Al Kooper. G'day Al, and welcome to Vinyl Vibes.
Happy to be here.
Let's start at the beginning, Al. You grew up in Queens, New York. What can you tell me about your childhood?
I think it was pretty normal, to a point. Things got nuts as I became a musician.
Was there a pivotal moment early on that really made you want to do music as a career?
When I can't remember how old I was. I think I was like 5 or 6, and my parents took me with them to visit their friends, and they had a piano in the house, and I had never touched a piano. And so it wasn't in the area that they were hanging in. So I asked if I could, sit at the piano for a while. And they said yes, and it didn't disturb them. It was about 2 hours, and by the time I was done, I had figured out how to play the number one song at the time, which was the Tennessee Waltz.
So you kind of had an ear for music then, right from that young age then?
Yeah, my mom played the radio, so I heard, like the normal top 10. This is probably, God knows, 1950 or something.
Yeah.
And so I was very excited that I figured out how to play the Tennessee Waltz, which was the number one record at the time.
A few years later, when rock and roll started kind of getting started, how did that impact you? Do you remember rock and roll having a big impact on you?
Oh yeah, it changed my life. After they bought the very expensive piano, I wanted to get a guitar.
Yeah.
So I saw one in a Sears Roebuck catalog, and it was only $45. At this time I was a little older. I was like 11 or 12. So I got the guitar, and I kind of forgot about the piano, and just obsessed on the guitar, and then started playing with a local band. We started a band, me and my friend, called the Aristocats, and we played, all the popular songs at the time. I was hooked. 2 or 3 years later, I ended up in the Royal Teens with the Who Wear Short Shorts.
Yeah, I mean, how did you get to be a part of the Royal Teens? Because I could imagine, for, you were only 14 at the time. I mean, for a young guy like you, getting into such a well-known group, I mean, that must have been pretty exciting for you.
Oh, it was, fantastic. I mean, and all the gigs were fantastic, because we played on a lot of shows where there were, 15 acts, and everybody would play 2 or 3 songs. And it would, stay in one place for 2 weeks, and then it would go somewhere else. And so you didn't have to travel every day, which was very good. And then we had the travel everyday stuff. And my whole concept changed because I realized that I could eventually do this for a living. I was hooked. And the Royal Teens had a number one record. So, we got around for a while there.
What were you kind of thinking as a career before that? Had you not have done that, what would have Al Kooper be doing today had he not have done music?
Oh, I have no idea. Like I said, once I started playing the piano, I was obsessed. and then I started listening to, better radio than what my mother listened to. I really learned a lot. But when we played shows with all these other acts, it was extremely educational, and I met a lot of people, and it was really good.
Yeah.
It wasn't so good for my parents.
Did they not feel too good about you doing the music kind of thing?
I don't think they minded the music. They minded the traveling and the late hours.
We spoke like the effect rock and roll had on you, but like what were some of the groups? Like, do you remember all the people like Elvis, with Heartbreak Hotel, or like Buddy Holly? Like, what were some of the artists that come to your mind as being really early influences?
Well, of course, Elvis. I was riding my bike. It was election day. I can't remember the exact year. And I had saved up money, and I was going to go out and get Elvis's new album, which I think was his second album. And so I got up early, and I was obsessed, and I had the money, but the store wasn't open yet. I kept going, I'll just ride down there and wait for it to get open. I got on my bike, and I got hit by a car, and I went up in the air on the bike, probably about 15 feet, and then came down sort of head first, but I was able to stay on the bike. So that, the bike was rendered useless.
Yeah.
And I was able to, after I got helped by the people that hit me and a neighbor, I was able to walk to the house, which was only a quarter of a block away. I hadn't, been out in the street very long. And I remember I had a white jacket on, and I rang the doorbell, and I woke my mother up, and she was very angry, and then she saw the blood, and she whitened out. I said, "What happened to you?" Then my father came home from work, and he brought the Elvis album with him.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's what I call parenting.
Yeah, that's good. You got the record at the end of it, I reckon, because, you went through all that, and then you eventually got it anyway.
Yeah, and I didn't have to blow my allowance on it.
Some of those groups you played with in the Royal Teens, I've seen like pictures of the posters, and like, it says the Royal Teens and Dion and the Belmonts. Are those the kind of guys you were playing with, like Dion and the Belmonts?
Yes, yeah. A lot of street corner groups, which Dion and the Belmonts were. And then it was usually mixed up pretty evenly between black and white.
Okay.
So I heard, bands that I loved and played on shows with Jerry Lee Lewis and stuff like that. It was just incredible.
You mentioned earlier that they taught you a lot. What did you really get from those guys?
Well, I learned, how to travel in a car, long distances with other people in the band. And that helped me a lot when I was in the Blues Project, because it was new to them, but I was a veteran. And by the time we split up, they were big veterans, because I spent much more time with the Blues Project than I did with the Royal Teens.
After the Royal Teens, you kind of started to do a lot more like session work. Yeah, what was it like back in those days, like session work? Was it pretty like full on?
Well, I didn't do that much session work. I got put together with two other guys by a publisher, and we became a writing team. And we got paid in advance every week, and we sat in a room every day and wrote songs together. And then the publisher would, try to get them recorded by people. The biggest was This Dimond Ring by Gerry Lewis. That was a #1 record.
Yeah.
That was good for us.
Are there any songs that you kind of wrote during that time that you wish kind of got more airplay?
Well, I have all the demos. I put together a 4 CD box set of rare and unreleased stuff. I just have it in enough shape now that I can try and sell it. It starts with the original demo of This Dimond Ring that we did.
Kind of going back through all those tapes, we're talking a long time ago now. That must bring back some memories for you. And is it pretty, is it meaningful when you kind of go back through all those old tapes?
Well, I never really went away from them. Most of it was a big part of my life. I learned from everything I did. So, I mean, like, the box set starts off with the original demo of This Dimond Ring, and then Gary Lewis record, and then a new arrangement I did of it, like, maybe a few years ago, that I don't think came out. Starts with, three really different versions of This Dimond Ring.
And is that about to come out, did you mention, or is it already out, or?
No, I just finished it, now I have to sell it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see. Okay. And I mean, just...
Probably will not be an easy task.
Well, as soon as it comes out, I'd love to have a listen to it if it comes out on CD, and all good.
It better come out on CD.
Yeah, I hope so.
A lot of vinyl.
Oh yeah, is it going to come out in vinyl too? That'd be pretty cool.
Well, it wouldn't be cool.
No, you don't like vinyl?
I like vinyl, but there's 75 songs on it.
Oh, you need quite a few vinyl discs for that one, I reckon. I mean, that would be like a quadruple album.
That would be nuts.
Just before This Dimond Ring came out, I think that came out around 64, if I'm correct. I think early 64 maybe. But just before that came out, I wanted to touch on this because this event affected a lot of musicians. I mean, and it's the November 1963 Kennedy assassination. I mean, did that affect you, like, musically? Because a lot of artists say that was a big moment, like, in their lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a few things like that. It doesn't stick out that much in my life because I've been through a lot of similar things. Where for instance, the New York thing, where the plane crashed into the World Trade Center. That was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And I think I might have probably been in New York then.
Yeah, right.
So, there are other giant things like that. I mean, more than one handful in my life.
Do you kind of find that, like, as an artist, that affects you?
As a human, it affects me. I mean, it's no different. I still have, in my magazine collection, I still have the cover of, one of the news magazines with the plane crashing into the building.
I could imagine that. I mean, if it affects you as a human, I can imagine that it would somewhere, like big things like that. Even if it doesn't directly affect your art, it will, like, there will still be, like, if it affects you as a human, it will affect whatever creative output you're kind of doing.
Well, there's just, I've been through a lot of things like that in this life, and they all affected me in one way or another. But fortunately, I had a few good things as well.
Yeah.
So I was more balanced. And then, I got to travel a lot as I got older and got to play Europe and places, I never did, Japan, places I never dreamed I would ever go to. And so, it was great. I look back at it now because I'm like much closer to the end of my life, and I'm confined to the house, and my life is very different now.
So I think it's your 1972 album, A Possible Projection of the Future / Childhood's End. I mean, like, you kind of wrote that about, like, what rock stars would be when they were kind of 80. I mean, looking back now, like, I mean, that was 1972, 50 years ago. When you wrote it, was that kind of from a meaningful place for you, like, thinking about life?
Well, I was very against getting old. So I wrote a song about, what I thought it would be like to be 80 or something. And then I was at Columbia Records, and the song was called A Possible Projection of the Future. And I said, and I was really into album covers. So, I tried to use them. And when I got with Columbia Records, they had an incredible art department. And so anything that I could think of, they could do.
Yeah.
So I had my face on the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
I had Norman Rockwell paint me in Bloomfield. I mean, just all these things you could never think could happen.
Yeah.
They could do there, and I think they enjoyed the fact that I was so into what they did. And I always tried to, say something that, would stump them. And I never could.
Yeah, right.
So anything that I could think of, they would do.
Yeah, right.
And that was the most wonderful part of everything, because I loved, album covers and how you could, express yourself with them.
Do you think, like, in like modern music, that we're like really that we're utilizing the album cover, or has that kind of been a lost art?
Yeah, the CDs kind of, made it so small that it wasn't as powerful.
I want to mention I think this is a really important moment in your life, Hal, and I know it's when you play the organ on Like a Rolling Stone. I'm not going to get you to tell the story again, because I know you've told it so many times, so I'm not going to put you through the misery of saying all that. But what I want to highlight...
We hope that who's ever listening to this has heard it at least 10 times.
That's what I mean. So I'm not going to put you. I'm not going to put it through. Don't worry. I'm not going to put you through it. But what I want to highlight, though, just for your own career and your own life, is that was the first time you kind of picked up the organ, and then after that, you've kind of really
No, that's not true.
No, not true. Okay.
I didn't know much about it. I didn't own one because they're unbelievably expensive. I still don't own one because they're unbelievably expensive. And they also take up a great deal of space.
So
I keep wanting to get one, and I would really have to talk my wife into it being in the living room.
After that session, I mean, that's when you kind of really started playing it a lot more, though. Is am I correct on that one?
Yeah, but I did play a lot on the demos I used to make, and so that'll show up on the box set.
Yeah, okay.
So that wasn't the first time that I played on a recording session or anything like that, but it certainly was the biggest artist that I'd ever worked with. And I didn't even work with him. I was invited by the producer to watch, and it just, I was ambitious Al. For younger musicians, I mean, would you say that a big part of making it in the industry, or just would be just to have the balls to just kind of do stuff like that, just go in and I'm just going to... I definitely had balls.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, those things that I did were, ridiculously ballsy. You wouldn't be talking to me today if I didn't do those things. That's
an interesting point too, Al. I mean, not that Like a Rolling Stone was the... I think,
No, it was. It was because of that, people wanted to hire me for sessions.
Yeah, right.
And before that, as a matter of fact, even the Like a Rolling Stone session, I brought my guitar with me and set up to play, because the producer invited me, and he and I were very good friends.
Mm.
And I was going to say to him, "Oh, I thought you wanted me to play."
Yeah, right.
But I didn't get that far because before the producer got there, Dylan and Mike Bloomfield walked in. No one ever heard of Mike Bloomfield, so I didn't quite understand. And then he sat down, and Dylan didn't know me either. And he sat down and started warming up. And I had never heard anybody roughly my age play guitar like that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't have a chance here. He just sat down to noodle and outplayed me, out of the room. So I packed up my guitar and I put it in the corner. And I went in the booth where I belonged. And then they moved the organ player to piano, and they took a break to do that. And I sat down at the organ, and luckily it was turned on because I didn't know how to turn it on. And it's complicated. It's a 3-step process.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the producer saw me. And then they started playing, and then it's on the tape, on one of the bootlegs.
Yeah.
Where he says, "What are you doing out there?" And everybody in the band laughs. And then he laughs, and he says, "Okay, here we go. This is Like a Rolling Stone, take 4."
Yeah. Had that not have happened, Al, I mean, it sounds like from kind of what you described then that your life might have been very different had that one event not happened.
Well, something would have happened. but because I was so ambitious. Look at what I did there. I wasn't afraid.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to have some sort of ability to
Yeah.
pull that off.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was very lucky, and it was 6 minutes long. It was complicated in that respect.
Mm.
And so I was doing it by listening. I mean, if you listen to the first verse, I don't play the chord until everybody else does, and I can hear what the chord is. You know, I had enough musician in me that if you're in the key of C, I knew what the sound of each chord would be. And he didn't use any flashy chords in it. They were all very simple chords.
Yeah.
So I locked into it, and I think the keeper take was, I can't remember now, but it was pretty early on, and we did 14 takes, and then I think they used take 5 or something.
I mean, you listen to that song now, and I mean, that organ part is just such a critical part of it. I mean, like...
so is Bloomfield.
Oh, no, definitely. Oh, no, not taking away from the other guys, like, not at all. I mean...
No, but I'm just saying, and they made him much louder than me.
Okay.
It just coincidentally was, one of the most important songs ever. So, but I mean, after they went in to play it back, I became an organ player. They kept me for the whole rest of the album, and, many others with Bob.
Yeah.
I played live with them, and...
Yeah. At the
Newport Festival.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've worked with him, on so many projects. I mean, I know you were on Blonde on Blonde as well. That came out the year after. Do you have like a favorite kind of Dylan moment, like with working with him?
Well, just Blonde on Blonde in its entirety, because it was like it was hard work, but it was like a dream. It was every single musician was spectacular, and they all had to wait around because he was writing the songs at the time.
Yeah, right.
So they would all play ping pong and call their agents and like that, and he would teach me the chords, and we would be in this, just he and I would be in the studio together, and I would play it over and over for him, and he would write the words while I did that. And then by the time we started recording, I knew all the songs, so I could teach the band the songs without him having to do that. But there were songs that, he hadn't written yet, but then he would have to, teach the whole band the song.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable experience.
66 was a pretty big year for you because of the Blues Project. The group's first album kind of came out in March, and I'm interested to know, Al, because it was a live album, not a studio album. I mean, what was how did you guys kind of think to release a live album before a studio album?
Well, because the record company was recording. We were on a show with a lot of people, and they were recording everybody on the show, so we got recorded, and that's during the show, which I think ran for at least a week. The record company was there and wanted to sign us, so they recorded us live there. That's where we got our first album from. I'd already done Like a Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
And a couple of other things, and so I was known as an organ player, but I wasn't playing live. And so Danny Kalb called me, who I didn't know, and said, we have a band and we would like for you to come play with us, see what it's like. I said, okay, sounds great. And I thought, well, this is good. That's sort of what I'm looking for. And we rehearsed a lot, and they let us rehearse at the Cafe Au Go-Go. So we would rehearse in the mornings and afternoons, and then we'd play there at night. First, we worked for nothing because, we were getting in front of people, and we got to try out our stuff. And then when they put out our first album, it did pretty well, and we started getting a name for ourselves.
only 8 weeks after that your live album came out, I mean, the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds came out. I mean, how did that like impact you as like a songwriter, as a producer?
That really changed my life.
Yeah.
I got eventually I got to spend a day at Brian Wilson's house.
Oh wow.
Which was like, one of the highlights of my life. I was a gigantic Beach Boy fan, and I understood his talent. I thought, he still is, in my top 5. Unbelievable musician.
Yeah, what I like about Brian Wilson's work, especially on Pet Sounds, it's just the creative. It was artful, but yet it wasn't like it came all together beautifully. Like it's just a fantastic album. I mean, it's all together.
Well, it was the most adventurous thing he ever did. So it really stuck out because of that.
I mean, and then there was another album in that year too. I mean, the Beatles' Revolver, which was also pretty experimental, maybe not as adventurous as Pet Sounds. But do you reckon that today, reflecting on today, that we're getting that same kind of innovation in music, or are we kind of just hitting a wall kind of thing?
Well, I don't count because I don't pay attention anymore. Well, I mean, there's not much for me.
Okay.
And what I like, I buy and I listen to it.
So there's not.
I just spent almost 10 years putting a 4 CD box set together, going through everything I had, and I still have to sell it. That's the next step.
Like, are there many people out there looking for that kind of stuff now? I mean, what's going on over there?
That's the question I would ask you. I don't know where to go with it.
Okay. I wish I had a good answer for you, Al. I mean, because I'm sure there's heaps. Like because I reckon because there's a lot of demand at the moment for older music. I mean, maybe there's. I mean, I think you might be able to. Certainly, there'll be someone out there. I mean, there's heaps of labels that like that vintage sound.
It's just not me on it. I took some of the stuff where someone recorded something I wrote and put that on, and some things that I played on that I thought were good.
Yeah, right.
That people might not have heard. For instance, I used Amy Winehouse's version of "I Love You More Than You'll Ever Know."
Yeah.
It was so different and so good.
I'm sure you get someone because I hope you do because it sounds like a brilliant.
Well, I hope so.
I
spent a lot of time on it.
I'm on your side too, mate. Yeah, no, Yeah.
But I mean, it also was done with the understanding in my mind that it was like my closer. I can't travel anymore. I can't play gigs. But I can put this box set together. So that's what I did. And it took a really long time.
I mean, are you still writing songs out? Like, you're still writing new stuff? Still putting stuff together? Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I mean, are we going to get another Al Kooper album, or is it just to keep for yourself, or...?
No, I think one of the great things about the box set is it has all the stuff that never came out. So, and it's not just from nowadays.
Yeah.
It's from throughout my whole career.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, yeah. Look, I mean, it sounds really good, and I mean, you mentioned there that Amy Winehouse version of the song. I mean, which brings me to a version you did of someone's song. I mean, I really love this track you did on your album Naked Songs in 1973. That your version of Sam Stone. I think you've just reimagined that song like brilliantly. I mean, yeah, like what was the process in kind of getting like your version of that song, like getting it all together?
Well, I love the song. That was the top thing. And I learned it, and I started playing it in the house. And I said, it would be weird for me to record this. So I thought it was a good song to record because comparatively, people didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And that's why I recorded it and I put it on my album.
Yeah.
I was afraid if they didn't hear the original version, that maybe they wouldn't hear it. And it was such a great song.
Oh yeah.
As a piece of songwriting.
Oh yeah. No, I mean I agree completely.
And also it was in my opinion it was great for my voice.
Yeah.
I thought I could really sing it good.
John's lyrics are fantastic, and then you kind of taken this and you've kind of just turned it into this wonderful, really powerful song. I mean, yeah.
It was a powerful song.
Yeah.
I mean, he got it as a folk song.
Yeah, yep.
And I thought that I can do much more with this. I loved the song. I thought it was a great song. I wish I wrote it. But I mean, if I did, I would have done it that way.
Just taking it back a few years to 1967, Monterey International Pop Festival was held. Like, that's kind of said to be like that start of that kind of counterculture kind of hippie era. And I mean,
I was the
yeah,
I was the assistant stage manager.
Yeah.
I worked for 3 months on that. Well, somebody dreamed up the idea of the Monterey Pop Festival. And it was a lot of guys in the music business with a lot of money. And so they spent months on it. And they didn't really have a name for it or a place for it at first.
Yeah.
And then when I got involved, it was a thing. And they were booking all these acts for it. And it was going to be like 3 or 4 days or something, which I don't know. I assume Woodstock was first.
No, Woodstock was after 1969.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then it was the first one.
Yeah.
So it was kind of genius.
You played at the festival too. I mean, like, how was that? Like, was it?
Well, that was like, a way of paying me.
Did you plan like what you were going to play, or did you kind of just go up there and say, right, this is what we're going to do, or like, how did you go about it?
Well, first I had to find people to play with me when I was up there. I got up there a few days early, and then the band started coming in, and I just knew people that were in bands. So I asked them if they would do it, and they would, and we got a sound check to rehearse, and that was it. I think I only played, like a couple of songs.
I managed to find the footage on YouTube of you playing there, so I was like, oh, there's Al Kooper.
Well, they used it in the movie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if you've seen the footage like lately, but I mean, it's really crystal clear too. Like, they've really, like, the film has been looked like really well after. So yeah.
I had a nice jacket on.
Yeah, you did. You did. I
still have that jacket, but it doesn't fit me anymore.
Oh no. Not long after that festival, I think the year after, I mean, we were talking about album covers earlier, and Blood, Sweat and Tears' first album, Child is Father to the Man, I mean, like, that's a pretty cool album cover, I gotta say. Like, was that your idea kind of thing, or like, how did that kind of come to be?
I had the title of what I wanted to call the album, and I had to come up with a cover. So I said, this is the thing where I told you at Columbia, whatever I could think of, they could do. So I said, what if we had little kids sitting on our lap and they had our exact faces? I said, and we'll call it Child is Father to the Man. And they liked the idea, and they thought they could do it. So we shot it. It was, I think 2 or 3 shoots. First we shot all of us sitting with kids on our lap. And there were, it was a long shoot. And, and the kids were sort of reckless because they were so young. And then I had to do the very complicated artwork of putting our faces on the kids' faces.
Yeah.
And even on an LP, you had to really look at it to get it.
You released your first solo album, I mean, in 1969, I Stand Alone. That must have been a pretty good moment for you, having that first, like, solo album out, like the first Al Kooper solo album. I mean, that must have been pretty good for you.
Well, I think Super Session came first. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. That might have came out in 68, maybe. So maybe just before.
Yes, it was 68.
Yeah, I think so. Just before this solo album.
Super Session album was probably chart-wise was probably the biggest album I ever had.
Yeah, like, take me through like that kind of session. I mean, like, what was that like for you?
Well, it was 2 nights in the studio, and it was just going to be me and Bloomfield, and and other musicians, and so it was going to be one night, and then we were going to take a day off and figure out what we were going to do on the second session. After the first session, he just disappeared. And I had only a day to find someone to replace him. And I was out of town. We were recording in Los Angeles. So I had to call everybody in my phone book that lived in Los Angeles that could have done it and get somebody to say yes. And Steve Sills said yes. And we'd only met once or twice. We'd never played together, but I was a big fan. And he was in between Buffalo Springfield and Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Yeah.
He was rehearsing with Crosby, Stills and Nash. But I called him and he said yes. And I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it was kind of a secret, Crosby, Stills and Nash. He only told me afterwards. But we never really played together. I was just a fan, and I guess he was a fan as well. You have to realize it was one side of an album was done like in 6 hours.
Yeah, it's interesting in music how, you mentioned it was only like 2 nights in the studio, and then it's, this one of your biggest hits. Does music sometimes surprise you like that, like something you think is going to be a hit or not going to be a hit, and then it, blows up and it's like massive kind of thing?
Well, it was unbelievable. Nobody thought it was going to, be top 20. And there was no single.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of guys jamming together.
Yeah.
But it was a great combination. It really worked great.
Definitely. No, yeah. You've done so much production work in your life. You've seen like the analog kind of tape machines, and how music has moved to more computer-based, software for making music. Is there any techniques or knowledge that you reckon that producers, like upcoming producers, could learn from that analog kind of era?
It depends what they want to do. Right now, everything is so comparatively synthetic that, if you wanted to get a job now, you'd have to know how to make those kind of records. I usually had some kind of studio in my house, wherever I lived. And so that's primarily what this 4-CD box set is. It's all the recordings that I demos, but they don't sound like demos. Because then the synthesizers came. And I could have horns and strings without having to have other musicians. I just played them on the keys and set the thing for horns or strings. And that really changed my life.
Do you think the tape machines were very important to the process of music?
Well, I mean, it had its own sound, yes. But in the quest for cleaner sound, it got left in the dirt.
Yeah.
But by, a majority of people. There are still people that will only record to tape, but they're older like me.
Did you stop recording with tape at one point, or like your later kind of albums, or did you kind of move on to the computer software, or what did you do?
I moved on to the computer.
Okay.
Especially since I could now record easily in my home studio stuff that was equivalent to stuff that was cut in studios. Because of the synthesizers. I went nuts with that, but not the way you would think. I was searching for perfect drums, perfect bass, perfect organ and piano, so that I didn't have to have those instruments. I just push a button, there's my organ, so to speak. Toughest thing for me was drums. I could never really play drums. And then I could, because, they put drums into the synthesizers, and a C note was the bass drum, and an E note was the snare, and then for the first time, I didn't have to have a drummer.
That must have been such an amazing transition almost, because you've been in the music game, for so long. You've probably seen it go from 2-track tape to now.
Well, I jumped right into it, and I probably did stuff before a lot of other people did, because I had a studio in the house. And I had, a lot of synthesizers. And
I know you've played on so many albums with so many people, but there's one that I really want to hear about, and that's when you played on B.B. King's album Live and Well. How did you come to record with him?
Well, my friend produced it, and he asked me to play. But then later, after that, I produced a B.B. King album.
Okay.
Played on it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, at least one, maybe two.
What was he like to work with?
Well, we were friends. We were really good friends for a really long time. I would go see him when he would play, and he'd bring me up, and I'd sit in with him. He liked the way I played, and so he wasn't sacrificing himself, which I took as a tremendous compliment. Then he asked me to produce him, and I said, "Oh yeah." So I did that, but I mean, it wasn't successful. But I think it wasn't my fault or his. I didn't want to change what he did very much.
I think that's a good point too, Al. I mean, in music, I'm sure there's lots of great albums out there that never made it to number one or made it to very far at all. I mean,
well, that's one of the reasons I did the box set, because all this stuff is laying around here and nobody's heard it.
After you kind of released Naked Songs in '73, you discovered quite a well-known band, Lynyrd Skynyrd. Take me through that. What was it about them that resonated with you so much?
Well, I moved to Atlanta because I found a studio I loved there, and I wanted to just work in that studio. And then I started hearing really good bands, and I met a guy I used to know, and he owned a club there. So I went to that club every night, and they had the same band would play for 6 nights, and then the next week another band would come in. And if it was a good band, I'd go every night, and if it wasn't, I'd still go because I was chasing women. So it worked out quite well. So I heard a local band there called Mose Jones, and I really liked them. And then a few weeks later, I heard Skynyrd, and I really liked them. So I went to MCA Records, and I said, "The music here is incredible." I said, "But I want to have my own label. And are you interested in such a thing?"
Mm.
And they said yes, which floored me. I didn't expect that to happen. So I called it Sounds of the South, and I signed Mose Jones and Skynyrd. And Skynyrd was, especially hearing it 6 nights in a row, it was, I said, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love this band. And what they were doing, I thought, was very different. They had 3 guitar players. And it was great because they were great arrangers. And that is one of the faults of most bands. The arrangements were fantastic, and I just didn't get sick of it all 6 nights that they played there. And I was in awe of their band. And then I got them to be the opening act on the Who tour.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went on the whole tour and mixed their sound live to make sure. And then you had 22,000 people hearing them every night.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. And I what happened was I was up at MCA where I made the deal in Hollywood, and I ran into Pete Townsend. We had been friends for a long time. I played on some Who record, and we just were, we liked each other. We got along very well. So I said, "I didn't know you were in town." He said, "Yeah." I said, I gotta give you this album. I had a test pressing of Skynyrd, so I gave it to him. And he called me 2 days later and said, "Can I get did they have this album coming out soon?" I said, "Yeah, like any minute." He said, "Do you think they'd open for us on our tour?" He said, "It's about 22 dates." I said, "Not only will they open for you, I don't even have to ask them." I said, "But I'll come along and mix their set." And he said, "So you can say yes?" I said, "Well, I have to ask them. Maybe they're not Who fans." And we both laughed like that. So then I asked them, and they fell on the floor. And so we promoted the first album with that Who tour. But on the other hand, I had to mix them every night.
Yeah.
I had a good time, and by the end of the tour, they were, great friends with the Who. And the audiences, we played to, 20,000 people a night. Think about that.
They had the album out and it was selling well, but and Freebird was going crazy on the radio, but they didn't have a single. I mean, and I think, it wasn't released until after their second album as a single. And I think, had that been released as a single at the same time, I reckon it probably would have been a massive hit for them.
No, I mean, when he wrote Sweet Home Alabama, he called me. I was still living in Atlanta. And he said, "We need to come down there." He said, "We just wrote a new song. We have to record it right away.
Yeah.
Because it's just the way I want it." I said, okay. I said, but let's take a day first and let me hear it and see, if there's anything I can help with. He said, you probably won't. I said, well, let's see what happens. And the only thing I could really do was put background singers on it.
Yeah.
But that was a good help.
From the moment he kind of played that song, did you kind of know in your mind that this might have been a hit?
Oh yeah. In fact, I would have been very disappointed if it wasn't. But it was hard. It was hard to do. Nobody ever heard of them. No one could pronounce their name. And I had to. I think it was on the second album, wasn't it?
Yeah, Second Helping. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, but the first album did very well.
Yeah.
Without a single.
Like, because you did the first 3 albums with them, so you did Pronounced Leonard Skinner, you did Second Helping, and you did Nothing Fancy. What made you stop kind of producing for them? Was what happened?
They threw me out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Also, each record was harder and harder to make.
Yeah.
And so the third album was really hard to make. And I said to myself, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, okay.
So I bailed.
There's those times in life where, like, it's just by chance that it happens, and, like your story with Like a Rolling Stone, and kind of a bit like this. And I think what I'm trying to say is, it's great that it, kind of happened at all, because those are amazing songs. There's not one person that doesn't know, Sweet Home Alabama or Free Bird. You know what I mean?
Well, that's how I felt. Like I said, they had another deal. And matter of fact, they recorded at Muscle Shoals in that first deal, but for some reason it didn't work.
After you kind of did all that work with Leonard Skinner, you got your first solo album out, and I think it was in a 4-year gap between this one and the last one. Act Like Nothing's Wrong. Did it feel good to kind of get back to your own kind of stuff after working with Leonard Skinner for so long?
Well, I didn't just work with them. I did other records as well. That band, Mose Jones, that was the first release on my label. And Skinner was the second.
So
then we put out a double live Blues Project album where we played live. It was live in Central Park. That's what it was.
It sounds like you did a lot of things just in that little period there.
Well, no. I was, from the time I started. Once I started making solo albums, then I went out and played live a lot.
Oh, okay.
And then also, into different parts of the world that I'd never been before. So that was all going on as well.
Seeing new places, that must have been a pretty, good part of touring, just being able to go to new places you hadn't been before and, see new things, experience different, cultures, I guess, that would, was that a favourite for you about touring?
Well, I kind of got used to it because it's tumultuous. You got to fly for 15 hours, and then you get a day to rest, and then you got to start playing and traveling again. It's it's tough.
Yeah. Very
tough. But I was always lucky to have a good band behind me.
Do you miss touring, Al, or is it kind of you've done it so much that you're okay that you're not doing it anymore?
Well, I'm almost 80, and I'm not Bob Dylan. I can't imagine playing another gig. Yeah. I'm I feel every year that I am. And besides, my doctors wouldn't let me. Not to mention my wife.
Yeah. Al, do you reflect on on the life you've had and
Oh, I do, and I was so lucky, and I did so many. I was in so many wonderful situations that it just was great, and that's why I wrote a book. And it's a very, it's funny, but it's also very frank, because I put all the good and bad things in that happened to me. And believe me, they were equal bad things.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind, because I wanted it to be sort of a lesson that it's not all great. And it's been in print for ages. Yeah. It's still in print.
That's pretty. I think that's a pretty good thing. Yeah.
And I only updated it once. But it's got its share of rough stuff in it, because everything wasn't flowers and money.
I think, like to have covered it in such a way, like in the book, covered the good and the bad, because I think that's like representative of, life is even for rock stars like Al Kooper. I mean, there's still good and bad that happens in life, and yeah.
Exactly. That's why I wrote it.
Al, I really want to thank you for making the time today. It's been really cool talking with you, I gotta say, and yeah, I'm just really appreciative that you've made the time to talk today.
No problem. The only thing I ask is that you send me a copy.
That was Al Kooper. If you'd like to dive further into Al's time in music, you can head to his website at alkooper.com. Remember to share this episode with other music fans. And if you really enjoyed this edition, we'd love it if you'd leave a review. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Vinyl Vibes. And to all those music lovers out there, stay groovy.